Hey everybody, hope you're all doing real well. I'm back today with another Polars tutorial, and today what I'll be talking about is I'll be introducing missing data in Polars, just what it is, how to identify it, and how to work with it. And I'm absolutely excited to be talking about this today because I am a serial hater of all things missing data in the Pandas package, which is what I used to use for a long, long time before Polars came out. And I did not like how they implemented it. I don't like how there's multiple different kinds of missing data that behave different ways. I don't like how the missing data coerces certain variable types into other types. I don't like how it causes certain NumPy operations to fail. It's just a massive beginner's trap, and just it leads to a lot of time spent on Stack Overflow searching for all kinds of solutions. But they did a really good job with Polars. I really like how they did it. And I like how they implemented it and how you set it. So we'll just talk about first how you set missing data. And so right here I'm creating a data frame with the data frame method and just manually entering data. And so the way you set missing data in Polars is just with the Python none type. So you just write in the literal word none with a capital N, and that is how you set a missing data. And so the first thing we'll take a look at in this program is just what missing data looks like in a data frame. Got all kinds of stuff in the way. And so missing data is oftentimes going to be portrayed as null in a data frame. And so as you can see here, it's very intuitive. Null, you know what that means. If you're like new to pandas and you see non, it's like that's going to be kind of like a big head scratcher for beginners. And so we see we have two missing values on GPA, one in age and sex. And so then there's the question of like, well, from a programming perspective, how do we identify missing data in Polars? And so the method we use is the isNull method. And the reason we use the isNull method is because we can't test for logical equivalency with missing data. None methods, it's similar to the pandas implementation. It's not equal to anything, including itself. So you can identify them, but you can't test for them. So we'll take a look at what that looks like here. So here's an example of the isNull method. So we'll go demo.select.pl.all. And so pl.all is going to select all of the columns, and we can pass all those columns onto the isNull method and test it like that. So what this is going to do is it's going to test if each value in each column is missing or not, and if it is missing, it'll return a true, if not a false, and so a Boolean column. Okay, there we go. And so we see our missing values are true and the rest of them are false. And so this is just helpful to see how isNull works, but it's probably not that practical because in a big data set of like thousands and thousands of values, lots and lots of variables, this is going to be too overwhelming to look at and not of much utility. So a better approach is to just kind of take what we did before and pass this null test to the sum method. And so what this is going to do is it's going to take each of these columns and take the sum of them. And so why would this work? It's because in the background, trues and falses are just really ones and zeros. And so these falses are going to be zeros and the trues are going to be ones. And so this will count the occurrence of true, and I'll just count those as 1. So this GPA column, this should get a 2. Age should get 1. Sex should get 1. So we will take a look at that. Okay, there we go. We see the results look as expected. And so the final tool that we can use to identify missing data that's very helpful is the describe. Let's describe. I cannot type. The describe data frame expression. And so what describe is going to do is it's going to take all of the variables that we've selected. In this case, since we're using it on the whole data frame, all the variables. And it's going to generate summary statistics for all of them, including a null counter. Okay, so we see a null count column here in describe, as well as a whole bunch of other useful information. And notice that this is another interesting aspect that I've always liked about polars. They just found ways to accommodate everything. I like how this string column is included in the statistics, and they found ways to give you useful information about a lot of it. And they just put in nulls where, you know, it's not appropriate. Like there's no 50th percentile in a string column. But anyway, so we see here that the null count works as expected. We get null counts for all three of the columns. And so that brings us to a question of like, well, how do we work with this in data manipulation? So the first thing that I've seen people do in a lot of the data science jobs I've worked is people oftentimes start out by setting a column to missing, just have it be all missing values, and then add values to that column with subsequent operations. So we initialize a column to missing just using the none type as we saw above. So we'll just create a new variable here and just call it missCol and just set it to none. And that will create a column with just all missing values. So very simple, but again, just kind of easy to do and something you might not be aware of. Okay, there's our new column, all missing. And so finally, with respect to working with the data, sometimes in a lot of projects you have edit rules where you hard code, where you deal with invalid values. And one way of dealing with invalid values is by hard coding them to missing. And so we see in this GPA column, I purposely put in what has to be an invalid value, this 9.7 GPA. That's either a foreign GPA using some other scale, or it's just a typo error. And so let's say we have an edit rule in our processing specification where we have to set this to a value of missing if it's above a certain number. So I'll just say that for now that anything above a value of 5 is going to, you know, have this edit rule. So we'll do pl.when, plcall. Okay. And then we'll use isNull again. Because again, we want to test if this is, oh, no wait, I'm sorry, not isNull. We want to do greater than 5.0. And then when that's true, we want the return value to be none. And then otherwise, we want this new column we're creating to be called, to be equal to GPA. Then we'll retain the name alias GPA. Okay, so to just review what we're doing here, we're testing if this column GPA is greater than 5. If it's greater than 5, then we'll set it to none. Otherwise, we're going to retain the value of the original GPA column, and we're going to name this column the exact same column that it was before, so it's just going to be overwritten. Demo. So we'll just take a look at this real quick and see how the results look. With the hope being that this 9.7 is now null. Okay, so there we go. So hopefully this video showed you that working with missing data in polars is really easy and intuitive. I'll have some other videos in the future about useful operators that can help you out with your logical tests. When you have missing data, because that is one area that can make missing data a challenge. But yeah, be on the lookout for that, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.